welcome again to another episode of a Marc Harvill art painting tutorial. I appreciate you tuning in. And what I've got going on right now is I'm starting a commission. And of course it's going to be a very large commission. I'm not going to be able to show the entire painting, but I did want to share with you just a little bit about what I'm working on, and maybe give you a small demonstration as well. If you remember from the last video, I painted this Castle Grayskull and this little battle between He-Man and Skeletor, and I wanted to let you know that I am selling prints. This is actually a small print. It was a much larger painting. If you didn't tune in, it's a 24 by 36, so I can obviously get these prints any size that you might want. So if you're interested in obtaining any prints, then just simply leave a comment below and I'll be happy to talk to you about that. So as a result of that last painting episode, I did get an individual reaching out to me asking for their own personal Masters of the Universe battle scene, and that's what this is going to end up becoming. And this is going to really be more geared toward Skeletor and his more or less his realm. So we've got back here in the distance, we've got Snake Mountain, got a big old volcano blowing up here. Wanted to have some cool planets here in the background, and what I'm going to be starting on today is Skeletor. He's going to be sitting on a throne right out in the open by a very large lair, a huge, kind of a large cave or lair of a beast. And right here at the base of Skeletor's feet, he'll be up some stairs on his exalted throne, and right here will be Tela. She'll be chained up to a post as if she's going to be sacrificed to the beast. So this is a very unique and personalized commission that I'll be working on here, and just something a little bit different. Now over on this side, I'm going to be having several of the heroes kind of coming in and fighting some of Skeletor's henchmen, so we have some kind of individual little battles kind of going on between some of these heroes and villains as the heroes try to come in and save Tela that's chained up. So that's kind of the idea behind this painting, and as I said, I won't show the whole thing. I just want to show me painting Skeletor on his throne. Here at the base of his feet I'll put Panther, and it should just be really interesting. So if you've not subscribed already, please do so, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this demonstration. All right, so I'm just going to kind of talk through what's kind of going on here. And right now I've gone ahead and sketched out this throne and Skeletor here loosely with my white charcoal. And I'm just coming back now with my gesso. This is a black gesso. And I'm just kind of filling in, working around those guides there, and blocking in this this throne. And I'll, for the most part, Skeletor and the throne are already pretty dark just because of the background, but I just kind of want to bring in a little bit more of this gesso. This will really help to really establish where I'm placing Skeletor, and I've gone ahead and also drawn in Panther now as well, which I decided, since he's such a large cat, he's going to be kind of really more off to the side instead of underneath Skeletor's feet. And I just had to kind of make that decision based on the composition I was trying to put together. But right now that I've got everything kind of blocked in with that gesso, and of course I have to work pretty quickly, and I'm not going to be able to show the entire painting, which I apologize, but it's extremely detailed painting, and it literally took me about 8 weeks to paint the entire scene. So with that in mind, there was just really no way I could really show everything. So I went ahead and put the kind of the spooky tree in the background right behind the throne. But now I can come back in and start to really begin to block in the initial color on this throne, which is just made out of a bunch of bones. And I've mixed together a Payne's gray and add a little bit of white. Kept it pretty dark though, pretty dark gray here. And I can just come through here now and really begin to sort of block in where I think all this is going to be for this throne. I can start to come back and use that Payne's gray and sort of lighten it up with a little bit more titanium white. That'll help me to start to really give a little bit of dimension and highlight here now. But it's good to kind of start with that gray and keep it pretty dark in the beginning. Now, one of the things I like about these dark paintings, and I've mentioned this in previous demonstrations, is when I bring in that black gesso. Now, the gesso is really designed to really give a good solid foundation. And it also really helps to really take up that color that's being put on top of it. So it's really conducive. And so it kind of serves a couple purposes for me. It establishes the subject and where I want to place it. And then it acts as a good solid base coat and foundation for those additional layers that I'll be adding on top. And the other great thing I like about it is that if I can go and thin enough paint and keep it somewhat translucent on those beginning layers, it can use some of that black gesso can really show through. And I like that because sometimes when I'm trying to go for sort of older, I guess, a little bit more even weathered appearance, aged appearance, I can keep those initial layers of color pretty translucent, and it'll allow some of that underpainting to really kind of show through. And maybe not even translucent is the right word. It might just be a little bit more transparent, really, but allowing some of that to show through. Okay, so now I'm kind of starting to bring in some of the rope, and now I'm starting to bring in the actual chair that he's sitting on, which was what I'm trying to go for here. Is I'm just kind of trying to go for a sort of almost like an animal hide kind of furriness that he's sitting on. So here we got an extreme close-up now, and I'm using my really tiny brushes with my tiny heads, and in this case I'm using a rigger brush. And I've mixed up an Indian yellow. Actually, it's not even Indian yellow. I think this is my ochre. So I've mixed up an ochre color here with some white and kept it pretty dark. I even add a little bit of purple, since ochre is kind of a yellow. But by using purple, I can really darken it up and keep it pretty subtle, pretty dark and toned. And that'll give me a nice, really dark sort of yellow on his skull here as an underpainting. And then on top of that, I can come back with lighter shades of yellow, and that will help to start to form out a little bit more three-dimensionality and help me to start to form out a little bit of highlight. And so I've come back here with just some cad yellow, a little white, and I think I even used a little bit of canary yellow for some of the brightest yellow highlights. But I've got to work pretty carefully here because it is so tiny, and just take my time, be pretty cautious, and you'll see I keep going back and kind of correcting things as I go along, because sometimes I make the wrong brush stroke, or I just need to sort of continue to help form it. And since I'm using acrylics, I can try to dry it pretty quick with my blow dryer and just keep on working at it. Okay, so I'm going to work on now the Havoc staff that Skeletor carries, which is, the head of this is going to be a ram. So that's kind of what I'm starting to form out here. So I've mixed up a little bit of dioxazine purple and mixed in a little bit of some yellow as the complement color, just to darken that purple, but keeping it a little bit more on the purple side this time. With the skull, I needed to keep it more on the yellow side, still using yellow and purple, but in this case, now we're going the reverse. Using a little bit more purple, little yes yellow. That'll help to gray it out, but keep it really dark. And I can start to form out some of the shapes. Doing a little glaze here, just a purple glaze, just to sort of mute out some of those really dark strokes from that underpainting. And I can come back with some lighter shades of purple and lavender, a little bit of white, start to hit those highlights. But working really, very, very cautiously. Again, it's such a small subject that I'm bringing in now, and I just got to take my time and really start to form this out. If you tuned into my last episode 128, where I painted in He-Man and Battle Cat, then you'll see I'm using a lot of the same kind of approaches and thought processes. And that's by starting off with a dark gesso black undercoat, and then I can start to form out the color on top of that, keeping things pretty transparent so that a lot of the gesso will show through. Now in this case, I can start to bring in Skeletor's hood. Now the reason I've been really focusing lately on these Masters of the Universe paintings is I started the Masters of the Universe painting with the Battle for Castle Grayskull, and I ended up sharing that on social media. I painted it as a personal painting for myself because I do collect the Masters of the Universe figures, and so I just wanted to have something I could hang in my office. But I went ahead and shared it, and it got a lot of attention, and I had an individual reach out to me to do another commission, a personal commission for them. In this case, this particular painting here, where it's going to be Tela. She is being held captive right by a beast's lair, as if she's going to be sacrificed to the beast. So this was a concept that the client had that we kind of built upon, and we just kind of ran with it. We wanted to have a bunch of heroes trying to come to save Tela, and so based on that request, started working on this painting. So one of the requests was, of course, having Skeletor on his throne right above the lair of the monster, just as I showed at the beginning of the painting. The full entire completed painting at the very beginning of this demo. And he's sitting on his throne as if he's kind of just watching and observing and enjoying the show. and watching as all these heroes come in to try to save Tela, and Skeletor's henchmen are trying to prevent that. So that was the main idea for this particular commission, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm bringing in now Skeletor's, his body now, his blue skin, and I believe I'm using for my blue, I'm using a magnesium blue, and to make it sort of darker, I went on the color wheel, and of course orange is the opposite of blue on the color wheel. So I mixed a little bit of orange with that blue to darken it up a little bit, but keeping more of that magnesium color. And then kind of blocked all that in as you've seen me do. And then come back with lighter shades of that magnesium just simply by adding titanium white to the magnesium blue. And I can start to shape this out now and add some highlights. And the reason I wanted to draw Panther right next to him was I knew I wasn't going to have to necessarily complete the leg and the arm that'll be kind of tucked behind Panther, but I wanted to sort of know where he was going to reside. So as I said, this was a very loose concept that I and the client came up with, and we kind of brainstormed and talked about best approaches. I wasn't 100% certain where everything was going to go, and matter of fact, I kind of like to loosely plan out my paintings without being overly rigid, because sometimes as I get going into it, the painting starts to take on a life of its own. It starts to help me dictate what should be next and what I should do, and on what value system I should be on, what plane, and that will help dictate the size, that'll help to dictate the value that I use for the colors. And in this case, I knew I was going to add Panther, but he's so large, he's about the size of a horse, that it just didn't make sense that he would be below Skeletor's feet. I think he would have covered too much of Skeletor up, so by kind of placing him off to the side like I did, then I was able to sort of figure out the composition for this. So I'm starting to come to a close now on this demonstration. This is really just a matter of kind of playing back and forth and adding the highlights, kind of deepening some shadows. I'll come back and add some more shadows later. But I appreciate you tuning in. I hope this was helpful to watch. And I hope you will come back and tune in again next time. And here is Panther. I started bringing Panther in. Had to jump ahead. But again, thanks so much for watching. And I'll look forward to our next video real soon. And I apologize that I've had to take so much time off. This painting took an enormous amount of time, and I wanted to show this one element, but I know I couldn't show everything, and it took about 2 months to complete. So that's a lot of the reason on why I haven't been posting videos lately. But wanted to show this one to you now. So thank you so much, and we'll hopefully have you join me next time for another painting. So long.